Hi, my name is Imo, and welcome to my channel In My Opinion, where I discuss creative outlooks to endlessly inspire hope, connection, and self-love. Well, today I am on here to discuss this fear. It's this fear and uncertainty surrounding a relationship dynamic changing, or your feelings towards each other shifting or moving about in some way. For example, you started a new relationship and you are 3, 4, 5, 6 months in, and you are really enjoying the relationship. Yes, there are things to work through, like your communication styles, how you receive love from each other. You've obviously moved through some conflict together. Enjoy your outings, the strengths that you share, the nuances of your personalities and how it meshes and intertwines. And now you're approaching this state in your relationship where things are getting a lot more serious, and perhaps you are slowly moving towards making commitments of like long-term partnership. Maybe you have marriage in mind, or you know that you want a long-term relationship, and you're starting to have fears and uncertainties and doubts, and you're worried and you're scared that the relationship dynamic you share is going to change in some way. But all of the things right now that you love and you're grateful for and that you're enjoying will shift, and it's giving you a lot of anxiety and fear, to the extent that that fear is being magnified such that it's hard for you to be present with your partner, and it's hard for you to enjoy your moments together right now. So I want to talk to you about these feelings of fear that you have surrounding uncertainty and change, and a few things that you can think about in this regard. So the first thing I want to say, that it's very important for you to have an openness and curiosity about these feelings that you're having, a patience in the discomfort, and a gentle self-probing to slowly and compassionately investigate these fears attached to change and uncertainty, in interpreting what these feelings mean. And I want you to ask yourself this question: do you think that these feelings have to do with the relationship itself, or do they have to do with your relationship with yourself? So we'll put those in two categories: the relationship itself or your relationship towards yourself. So firstly, we're going to talk about your relationship towards yourself and how these fears may suggest a few things about what's going on internally in your inner landscape. The anxiety that you have surrounding change and uncertainty in your relationship may very well have to do with your relationship towards uncertainty and change in your life. So think about moments in your life where you've had uncertainty. Maybe you were in a position in your life where you were unemployed, or you were waiting to hear back about something, to maybe get accepted into a program, or you were waiting to hear some news. Think about moments in your life where you felt like there was a great degree of uncertainty in your path. And think about moments in your life where you were either going through a change or you knew that a change was coming. How did you deal with those instances in your life? Did you have a lot of fear? Did you deal with those situations calmly? Have you heard of the serenity prayer? It goes like this: God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. By Reinhold Niebuhr. I feel that our relationship towards change can really be summed up by this prayer. There's some aspects regarding change that we just have to accept, and then there's certain aspects that we can actually have the courage to do something about. There are certain things we can change, but we have to be conscious about what those things are. And so the first thing I want to say is that change is inevitable. Change is a non-negotiable in life, and your feelings towards your partner are going to change. Perhaps your struggle is more about how will they change. Maybe you know that change is a constant in life. Perhaps you do know this, and your fear is more about how the dynamic between you and your partner is going to change. And if you are predisposed and inclined towards emotions of fear, like me, then I'm sure your thoughts are that your relationship may change for the worst and not for the best. Perhaps you're thinking, will our feelings towards each other change to the point where relationship relationship ends. So here are a few things that are important to remember about change. So change is not necessarily linear. It's not black and white, and it's not all or nothing. I think that change is very nuanced and very intricate and very twisted and intertwined. There will be certain aspects that will change in very intriguing and meticulous, maybe detailed ways. Change will most likely not happen from white to black, or black to white, from backwards to forwards, from this side to that side. Change will happen as a dynamic, as a very interlocking, intertwined thing that may be very hard to really pick apart and pull apart. It will be very integrated and very interwoven and locked in. So that's something to remember about change. It's not going to be black and white. It may not be linear. Most times it won't be. Change will most times tend to happen gradually, unless something absolutely drastic happens. And the gradual nature of change will give you the ability to address, to process, to deal with any changes as they come. This will give you the space to make sense of any changes that happen, and therefore you are responding to the change as the change is there. Another thing to remember about change is that change is not synonymous with bad. Sometimes when we think about change and when we are, like me, predisposed towards fear, we just think of change as something bad. As you see all around you, life is nuanced enough that there will be things we will perceive as positive in those changes, and things that we will perceive as more neutral, and maybe things that we will see more on the negative side. But that's also how we frame things as well. There may be a lot of good that we will see in whatever changes take place. We have to remember too that everything that we are today, everything that we see around us today is all a result of change. Change is actually who we are. And even now, as we look at our bodies, we are changing. We are growing, we are aging, we are having new mentalities. Like, we are constantly in flux. We are constantly in change. Even if it's incremental, we are still changing. Another thing I would like to share with you about change is that change makes room for growth, for evolution, for progress. It's impossible for certain things to happen unless change happens. And we can see that all around us in this world through history, the things that are even present today with the technologies that we engage in. All of these things around us are the result of change. And lastly, how you deal with change makes all the difference. It even make more difference than the change itself. How you deal with change makes all the difference. So those are a few things I have to say about change. When it comes to uncertainty, I want to encourage that it's okay to embrace uncertainty. It's okay to embrace uncertainty even if it doesn't feel good. It's okay to not know. It's okay to rest in the unknown, in the not knowing, to befriend it, to take it lightly, to be gentle with it, to even enjoy it. Of course, it can be scary because the more that something is important to you, there will be a greater degree of fear in the uncertainty around perhaps if something changes or not. There's that uncertainty there and there's greater fear. But how would you feel if every single moment of your life was planned out and there was no degree of uncertainty and you knew everything that was going to be happening? If everything was predictable, how would you feel? Of course, we do need a degree of predictability to feel safe. I think a relationship needs to have a degree of predictability to feel a sense of groundedness and a sense of safety and security. What do you see of groundedness, predictability, and security in your relationship right now that you can concentrate on and focus on? We will discuss this more later. I also want to ask, what do you see of groundedness, predictability, safety, and security in yourself that can be magnified? Can you create more certainty and safety in how you show up for yourself more? Uncertainty also allows you a greater degree of freedom in how you create your future. Because if your future was completely predictable, there would be absolutely no creativity needed, no planning, no drawing together resources to build and draw and create that future, that vision. And uncertainty allows pause for that, because if we don't know, then we're able to imagine all these different possibilities for ourselves. So uncertainty in a way is a type of freedom that you can take advantage of and utilize. So like I said, the fears that you're having could be overall your general fears in terms of your relationship regarding uncertainty and change, and how you have processed that in your life and what you feel about that, and how perhaps you maybe need to make peace with that or work on those areas. And continuing on with your relationship with yourself in terms of dealing with this fear of feelings changing in your relationship or the relationship dynamic shifting, I want to talk about some of the things that you can build or create in your relationship with yourself to temper, assuage, or navigate these fears. So I've shared this a lot in my other videos, but it's really important to invest in yourself more. It could be possible, not always, but consider this thought. It could be possible that your fear of your feelings towards your partner, either both of your feelings towards each other or your feelings or their feelings changing, the dynamic shifting, it could be possible that you have these fears, and maybe these fears are so great and so overwhelming because this relationship is a very strong investment for you. Perhaps it could be your only investment, or perhaps this investment is very high on the list, and it's normal for a relationship to be a high investment. Relationships are some of the most important aspects of our lives, but could it be possible that you may be over investing, or that there needs to be other areas that you're investing in as well? So I'm going to say it's important for you to invest in yourself. Stakes are so much higher if you're overly invested in your relationship. It's important to remember that you are your most significant relationship. The relationship with yourself will last forever. Until you die. It will be there until the end of your life, your relationship with yourself. And your relationship with yourself determines the relationship you have with everybody else in your life. Could it be possible that you have not built up or invested, or perhaps you need to reinvest more in yourself, which is why you're afraid, greatly afraid of your relationship dynamic shifting or changing? I want to reference a video that I did, which is 6 ideas of how to build a stronger sense of self-reliance. And it talks about building safety, self-reliance, security, self-compassion, and intimacy within yourself. So investing in yourself, like I share in that video, means like engaging in your own forms of solitude, joining activities, clubs, events where you get to grow and develop different skills that you have, you get to engage in relationships with other people outside of your partner, and you're exploring other outlets for your needs besides your romantic relationship. There's so much more that can be said about this whole idea of investing in yourself, and there's so many videos and tools and resources and books that can help in this area. Another thing that is really important to do when it comes to your relationship with yourself and navigating these fears is reframing your thought patterns, how you are thinking about these fears, the stories that you are creating, the narratives that you are repeating and cycling through over and over and attaching to. Now, I think a certain degree of anxiety or discomfort is very natural to living in life, and especially in a relationship. But could it be possible that you need to clean up your thought life in terms of how you reframe, reshape, or organize your thoughts? Now, I want you to think of your thought landscape concerning your relationship as a bedroom, as your bedroom. Sometimes you have cups that you need to take down to the kitchen. You have clothes strewn around the room from Wednesday. You have laundry to do. You need to open up the window to let out stale air. How can you clean up this room? Do you need to make the bed? Do you need to organize and put away clothes into your closet? What can you do to better organize this room? So it's the same way with your thoughts. How can you clean up your thought life? How can you organize your thoughts so that your space that you're living in, which I'll say here, your space, your mind, is clean, is cleaner, is more tidy, is organized. You want to be in it, you want to live in it. It's helpful, it's manageable for you. What can you do? How can you clean up these thoughts? One way we can clean up these thoughts is by thinking about things differently, by reframing our thoughts. So for example, what if you zoomed out of this fear of your feelings changing or the relationship dynamic changing? And what if you put this fear in perspective of other relationships in your life? Your relationship with your parents, with your best friend, with your coworkers, with acquaintances and other people that make up your social landscape. Do you feel afraid that your feelings will change, that you will get bored, or the relationship dynamic will shift significantly with your best friend, your dog, your mom, with your coworker, with your children? What is it about romantic relationships that we place this great deal of pressure onto it? Think about it. What is it about romantic relationships, where we place this great degree of pressure on it? Is it because of what we've been taught about what a partner is supposed to do for us or fulfill for us? From the media, from our families, from our culture? And is that a way of thinking that we want to uphold for our lives, for our own health? Is it possible for us to take greater autonomy over certain areas of our life so we do not feel that these needs are relegated towards a romantic partner to fulfill, and put pressure on a relationship, overwhelming pressure on a relationship that creates further anxiety inside of us? Could this lift some fear? And this goes back again to the whole idea of self-reliance and investing in yourself. We live in a world of endless multitudes of possibilities and scenarios and ways of thinking. Could there be other ways of thinking about these fears that could be more helpful, more fulfilling, more enlightening? There are many needs and desires that we have, and when we enter into a romantic partnership, it can be quite challenging to understand what needs and desires need to be fulfilled by our partner alone, primarily by our partner, by other people, other scenarios, situations in our lives. It becomes hard to discern, but through time we can pick apart and discern and maybe investigate and do trial and error and do different things to determine that. I'd like to ask a question. What needs of yours can be addressed outside of this relationship? Or maybe there's some needs that can be met within this relationship and others can be met outside of this relationship. What can be changed within yourself? Now, with all of these viewpoints and perspectives, I always like to think that we are only scraping the surface just a little bit, and I'm sure there's so many other ways we can look inside of ourselves to deal with these kinds of fears that we have in our relationship, about feelings changing, feeling boredom, the dynamics shifting. There's so many things inside of ourselves that we can look at to address these areas. And if you have some ideas of what those things can be, please comment below. Now let's switch over to the relationship side of things. Yay! Now, when you look at your relationship, is there something specific about the dynamics of your relationship that's making you feel this fear and anxiety about your feelings towards each other changing, or you feeling bored, or them feeling bored, or the dynamics shifting? Is there something within this relationship that is making you feel this way? Is there something that was said? Is there some behavior? Is there some pattern? Was there a circumstance, a memory, a disagreement, something that has not been addressed? Or even if it was addressed, it was not fully addressed and it's not resolved. It's going unresolved in your heart. Is there something there that is causing, maybe subconsciously even, this fear and anxiety in you? And what is it? Can you talk about these fears with your partner? So whatever has happened in your relationship that is making you feel scared that the dynamic is going to change, be able to talk about these instances with your partner, even if it means involving outside resources such as a therapist, reading books, watching YouTube videos, engaging in self-help practices like journaling. Can you address these fears with your partner? Perhaps aspects of boundaries, values, standards, goals, and visions need to be talked about, need to be discussed for realignment, alignment, and affirmation and reaffirmation to feel safety, security to a greater degree. So that's something you might need to think about and look at as a couple. Another point I want to bring up is this question of, is your relationship too forward focused? Is it too focused on the future? Is this why you're feeling anxious? Now, So some people that we date may be planners and get really excited about the future and want to talk about it and what they have for the future, what they want to plan. And I don't think there's anything wrong with this because it can be a very beautiful thing to discuss the future. But do you feel that your relationship is too heavily saturated by thoughts and talks about the future, such that those talks and conversations are almost robbing you of the present moment? Are you not present enough in today, in this season? This could also be a you problem, like a me problem. Me as a individual, it could be a problem as well that I need to address, where I am thinking too forwardly, too future focused, and that's why I'm starting to feel anxious, and I'm not allowing myself to slow down a lot more and just enjoy the present. So it's important to stay in the present moment and to keep refocusing to the present moment and to take the relationship one step and one day at a time. Your relationship, while it may be fun and exciting to think about the future, and I don't feel there's anything wrong with that, I think, again, that's a very beautiful part of a relationship, it may be too early to be having too many talks and too many discussions and plans and visions for the future right now. All of these excess future-oriented plans may be suffocating or putting so much weight onto the relationship right now that it's making you feel anxious. That could be what's happening. And you as a couple, or even you as yourself, may need to create more boundaries to stay focused on the present moment. Even if you need to discuss the future, to create boundaries that bring you back to the present. Relationships are a balance, and sometimes specific thoughts or orientations towards focusing too much on the future, or too much on past conflict, too much on whatever you name it, it can overwhelm and just oversaturate the relationship, especially a new relationship. And you can have too many thoughts and discussions in one area to the detriment of the overall landscape of the relationship, such that other aspects of this relationship do not get a chance to come forth and bloom. How can you keep your relationship more present? Well, there's so many things that you could do. One of those things is to fully immerse in present-oriented activities. Like whatever you enjoy as a couple. If you like dancing, you like listening to music, you like solving puzzles together, you like going out for nature walks, fill your relationship with those activities. And when you are engaging in those activities, be present in that moment. Notice the things around you. Have conversations about what you see around you, the current moment that you're in. Another way that you can keep your relationship very present oriented is to focus on the memories, the thoughts, the experience, the gifts, the interests, the values that you have, that you appreciate about your partner and about the relationship and about yourself right now as of today. These things in your relationship are going to shift. A 6-month relationship is going to have different things that consist of it than like a 2-year relationship or a 4-year relationship. It's always going to be changing. The dynamic is going to shift. So appreciate what you see here right now and celebrate it and magnify that in your heart. Another thing that you can do in your relationship to set kind of like a boundary or keep it away from focusing too much on fear is to create the dynamic for your relationship that you want to have. So as a couple, you can decide how you want to fill your relationship. Do you want to fill your relationship with different activities, events, goals, visions, trips? What do you want your relationship to be? What kind of dynamic do you want to create together as a couple? You get to decide your dynamic. You don't have to allow fear, change, uncertainty, all of those other factors. You don't have to allow them to kind of come in and decide things for you. You can decide what you want your relationship to be about, what you want to work on, what intentions you have as a couple, rather than allowing fear to come in the way and sweep you off your feet. You can solidify what you want your relationship to be about. And this leads me into my next point, that it's really good to have some form of spirituality with your partner. So I think spirituality can be defined very loosely as like practices that you have together where you lift your thoughts and your mind above the material realm and focus on something more. Maybe you might have a joint belief in a higher power, or maybe you have a joint belief in the things that you can do for humankind, like volunteering, your belief in the power of love and mental health and sustaining a healthy dynamic, I would say that all falls in the realm of spirituality. Can you pray together? Can you meditate together? Perhaps you practice a religion together. You go to church, you go to a spiritual sanctuary, a temple, different things. All of those practices really help to focus and refocus some of these more anxious and jittery energies and kind of create a very solid and secure shared vision together as a couple. It's really important to figure out how you want to show up to your relationship. Do you want to show up to your relationship as someone who's anxious and your mind is elsewhere and you're not present? I feel that life is really short, and I feel like it's so important to enjoy the people that we have in our life when we have them, and that includes your partner. As much as we like to think that we have forever with the people that we love, that is just not the reality of life, and we don't know what can happen. People can get sick. Unfortunately, we don't live forever. Things can change, and it's so important to enjoy what you have with your partner and with the people in your life when you have it. Change is an inevitable part of life, and it's something we experience as this collective, as humanity, and it's a really beautiful thing to undergo change with someone you love, with your partner. It may not always be comfortable, it may not always be easy, there may be hard conversations to be had, but it can be a very beautiful thing when, as a couple, you embrace everything that life has to offer. The excitements, the boredoms, the gratitudes, the changes, the discomforts, the hard conversations. It's all a part of life. It's all a part of what makes us human. And we can sit and we can rest in it all and behold it all. So this is all I have to say for now on this topic of fear. You're afraid that your feelings towards your partner will change, or their feelings towards you will change, or that you'll get bored of each other, or the dynamic will shift. This is all I can say for now, but there's so much more to be said. I like to understand that my videos are more a conversation starter and a dialogue rather than a full stop. So keep the conversation going. What do you think about this topic? Have you felt like this in your relationships? Do you feel like this in life as a whole? I would love to hear from you. What resonated with you from the video? Please comment below and like and subscribe. I'm so thankful for you if you've made it all the way to the end of the video. I'm so thankful for you watching my videos, for being present and engaging with me. Thank you so much for supporting me, and I will see you in the next video. And if you have any ideas for videos, I would love to talk about so many different things and what interests you. Please let me know. Otherwise, see you later. Bye.